Here first, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes.
Well, the offensive line, the entire offense looked better, in my opinion, on Sunday. Would you just talk about, even to only have had a week, your pride in what you thought and where you think it can go, please?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I think we've got a great group of guys to work with. They're true pros. They've been giving great effort throughout the course ever since I've been here. And, the job of a coach is to help players reach their potential, right? So hopefully, we're taking incremental steps. Nothing, things don't happen overnight, as we all know, in any profession or any endeavor. And so I was pleased with the way the guys approached the week. And I thought, we're making, some small strides. We've got a long way to go. And I have to do a better job, certainly, in the running game, giving them, a better design, and you need to execute a little bit better to have more efficiency and more production in the run game. But I think it was a, solid first step. I think the job of the players is to contribute to the overall success of the team. So we obviously didn't do enough. We need to do more. But excited to get back to work with these guys tomorrow and see where we can go.
You've had tremendous success in your career with offensive lines, and when you look at even Dylan, who's been played a lot, he's still really young. When you add in the two rookies, for this offensive line in the youth that they have, do you see it as just a high potential? Do you think maybe some guys have tapped out? What do you see when you look?
No, I think there's, like to your point, I think there's a lot of potential there with this group. I think Jackson Powers Johnson is 21, I guess. Dylan, like as you mentioned, is still a young football player.
Delmar.
DJ obviously is very young. So, we want, you always want, and sometimes life isn't always that way, but you want that gradual development and improvement, and you hope that the 66 reps that they got on Sunday, they're going to benefit some from it mentally as well as physically, the play speed, the different looks, the different blitzes. There's a lot going on, and it happens very fast for those linemen. They don't have a lot of time. I always tell them, it's easy for me with a remote that I can hit rewind 20 times, and I can draw on with my yellow line with my finger on a video screen. But they don't have that luxury that I do. So you hope all those things, make a difference, and the things you do in practice make a difference. I think a big thing that I've stressed with these guys, if we don't get it right on the practice field, which way is it that way, there's no chance it's going to get right on Sunday. So you gotta have faith in the things that you're doing during the week are going to contribute to your success on a Sunday.
Coach, Antonio's talked a lot about communication in the line and how much that must improve. 10 games in, how much can that improve?
Oh, yeah, there's it's I think it's been improving during the course of the season, and now Jackson, what was that, his second full start at center, I think.
Yes, sir.
So and he's a bright guy. He's a very bright individual, and he has a good demeanor on game day. He's not an uptight kind of guy. I've been around some centers, I've been around successful centers that had different personalities. So I think his is good given the youth that he has. The exuberance that he has for the game. So, but yeah, communication's huge. And, if you have to, when in doubt, over-communicate, right? So that we all get on the same page, even if they may see a point, they may hear a number, hey, do it. I'd rather, the five offensive linemen and the tight end and the running back all understand pre-snap as opposed to tricking the defense or hiding from the defense, And I think, we're making some progress there, as we have been throughout, not just last week. But that's huge. I mean, you got to have people on the same page. The offensive line coaches historically have nightmares of linebackers running through the A gaps untouched, right? It's not a good feeling for the quarterback. I've never met one that likes that, nor should they. So part of it's, communication, get everybody on the same page.
Were there tweaks you made last week as far as the practice schedule or things we're going to see differently?
I mean, minimal. Minimal. I mean, obviously, we all have our things that we favor, that we that we like to do, and so. But a lot of the fundamentals of football haven't changed. You emphasize in a run game. An O lineman's job is to create space for the running back. So you gotta. How do you do that? You have to hit your aiming point. You have to play with leverage, so you can. It's hard to move an object, any object, if you don't have leverage, right? And then you got to sustain blocks. And in pass protection, it's real simple. I kind of use the analogy of man-to-man defense in basketball, and the quarterback's the hoop. And the further you keep the guy away from the hoop in basketball, right? The shooting percentage is less. He gets less offensive rebounds. If you can do that in football, quarterback's probably going to have a higher completion percentage, less tip passes, less hits, less sacks, less bad decisions, all that stuff. So I try to paint an image where the game's simple in some respects, but not easy. It's not easy to, a guy with 310 pounds with a lot of momentum coming at you. Again, it's easy for me to say just, keep him away from the hoop, but you got to have fundamentals, you got to have technique, you got to have confidence in yourself. So.
There's been a couple of injuries on the offensive line, but a guy really stepping up, Jordan Meredith. Can you just talk about what you've seen from him as a player? And do you think, even despite the injuries, has he proven to you that he can be a starting quality offensive lineman in this league?
Yeah, he's a smart number one. He's very diligent. He's got good play strength, even though he's again, he's not the biggest guy. He walks in the door. He's not the biggest offensive lineman in the NFL, that's for sure. But he has good functional play strength, and he's very bright, and so he knows how to give himself a chance, put himself in a position to be successful. I think the initial, you can get into yourself in a lot of hot water and in trouble if your initial movements in football aren't correct. Just like a receiver on a route or running back on an aiming point. So I think he's detailed about that. He puts himself in a position to be successful, gives really good effort. So, he's made some nice contributions.
Obviously, none of us at this table have jobs without fans. So I don't mean this disrespectful in the least way about fans. But when I report and talk about, I think there's a lot of reasons for optimism with this line. I think people sometimes just look at records. Mm-hmm. If you were talking to a fan, sitting having a beer with a fan, because you're universally respected in this league as an offensive line successful person, what are some reasons that you look at this line and have optimism?
Yeah, well, I think there's a nice blend. Like you mentioned, there's quite a bit of youth right now, right? So, with the young players that are on their first contract, you believe in, and you have to believe in something. So you believe in in OTAs and training camp and the practice reps that you get, that you're going to get an ascension and a developing football player. And then, part of the job of the coach too is to slow the game down for the player. You know what I mean? So when they're young, there's a lot going on, and so as they accumulate more and more experience, and they hone their fundamentals more and more, and AJ and his staff develop them in that regard. You should see some progress and some improvement, and so I think that's really number one of the things I think, somebody like Colton Miller, when you're an established player in the NFL, as Colton Miller is, they should be close to their peak at 27, 28 years old. Mm-hmm. So if you have a couple guys that have been through the wars, that are tested, that are proven, and then you add that mix, young athletic guys that are hungry, that are going to get better, and you put that together, and you continue to hopefully, kind of grow their concept awareness of the game of football and their understanding of the game. Then the game slows down, and then I think together, if they work together, you can accomplish some great things.
You mentioned Colton coming off the injury, obviously has a slow start. What do you see as his upside?
He's got rare knee bend for a man of his size, and his movement skill is excellent, I think. And I think I'm hoping that, that's a lot of practice to miss. I haven't met a lot of offensive line. I've been around some really, really good ones. Zach Martin practiced every single day. So I think he's should be keep this next, is it 7 games, 8 games? Hopefully he's going to be practicing during the week, and again, he's doing everything he can. But I think practice. The great players I've been around at any position, they want to practice, and they believe in the value of the reps for what they're going to see in a game. So I hope he can continue to get on the practice field, and I think that'll pay dividends. But I think he's, from a size, movement standpoint, I think he's what you're looking for in a left tackle in the National Football League for sure. And his bend is rare.
Right. Is he also kind of leader of this group? Kind of the guy who has to.
Oh yeah, he's got good leadership traits, very good work ethic. He's kind of one of the guys, so he's got a real good demeanor about him.
I'd like to ask you about running back vision and the importance of that. The offensive line can do everything right.
Yeah.
But if a running back goes to the wrong spot, doesn't see the hole, the offensive line gets blamed. As a guy who has been an offensive line coach and a super successful coordinator, how important is vision when you are evaluating a running back, sir?
Yeah, I think it's important. The first thing is, I attempt to convince the O-line that, part of our jobs is to make everybody else's job easier, right? So, you guys want to make your boss at the paper or whatever it is these days, look smart, right? I want to make Scott Turner look smart, So, that little simple thing about creating space, when you want to, we obviously have the back keying both a landmark to arrive at and a defender typically. So you want to, to the best of our ability, move that defender to make the back's decision easier. But certainly, vision's an important aspect of it. But the O-line job is to get that back to his aiming point, not necessarily to tell the back where to go, because the really, really good backs, you don't want to overcoat. You want to get them right on an outside zone. Okay, here's the track. Stay on the track, and there's your key, and go play ball. Here, I'm done. You know what I mean? But yeah, vision's definitely a very, very, very valuable commodity for a running back.
Coach, you probably talked about this already, so I apologize if you had to answer this question, but I'd like to speak a little bit about the character on Jackson Powers-Johnson and just the fact that his willingness to adapt to a new position, even though he was familiar with it before, and also his ability to block, just this past week to be able to make that run block with Bowers.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think one thing about him, he's very poised for a 21-year-old who's just entering the NFL. That's one. Number two, he's a very bright guy, so concepts in football come relatively easy to him, which is a big benefit. And he has he's excited to play in the games, so he's not a nervous Nelly, so to speak. So he's not afraid to spit a call out of his mouth, and make a decision. So I think his decision making for the vast majority of the time has been correct and has been loud and demonstrative and good. And to be able to start at 2 different positions in his first 10 weeks as an NFL player speaks, a lot to his intelligence and his poise and his upside as a guy with a future in the National Football League. So, yeah, I've been pleased with what he's done so far, for sure.
As a position coach, how important is it for you to be able to emphasize that character and just make sure that he maintains it week after week, regardless of the mistakes that are happening on the field?
Right. Well, hopefully we do a good enough job coaching in the preparation aspect. There's always going to be, look, I haven't coached a perfect game yet. There's never going to be perfection necessarily. There will be mistakes, but, we can't make too many or none of us are going to be around very long. So, hopefully through the preparation, and he does a good job of that as well, that we can, minimize the mistakes and then focus on more of the fundamental errors that are occurring and address those. When everything's going on, it's hard to, if it's schematic, if it's recognition, if it's fundamental, there's a lot going on, so you want to kind of see if you can get the preparation, the scheme down, so you can do more focusing on the real important aspect, which is the fundamentals.
And my final question, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Good question.
I got one more.
My final question was just on the term of communication. A lot of it has been spoken about how they lack communication, but it also has a lot to do with the fact that they're constantly changing positions and constantly having new members out there. So how do you ensure that they're able to communicate amongst each other in those seconds prior to the snap?
Yeah. I mean, I said to Coach Pierce when I took over, I said one of the things that's blatantly evident is that we've lacked continuity for a variety of reasons. Some uncontrollable, for vast, but the really, really good offensive lines that I've been a part of have that continuity. So finding the right five guys and enabling them to practice together and then perform together and hopefully get a string together week after week is really where you want to be in the offensive line. So that's important, and that should enhance the communication.
What were your first impressions of DJ, and how's he grown this year?
Yeah, I did a Zoom interview with DJ in March or April, and sometimes it's like an hour long, and I have a lot of I put together this test, so I have a lot of confidence in my ability to predict if this guy's going to be a good fit for me, and from just a process standpoint, is the game going to be too fast for him? So I was very impressed with him in the Zoom interview process. Again, he's a guy that has kind of a quiet confidence about himself, not as flashy maybe as number 58, and he doesn't get flustered real easy. So I like what I see out of him. He's got good fundamental base. He's been out there one-on-one against some really good rushers, and he's held his own. So really pleased with what he's done so far.
Last one, I guess. What's your favorite part about coaching the offensive line? Why is it that's your passion?
Yeah, I still love teaching. I've told the guys, and again, at my stage of the game, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but
I can look it up.
Yeah.
Not a day past 50.
That's right. Still love walking in the room. I still love the teaching in the classroom. I still love going to practice, and I still love going on a Sunday and watching the players perform at a high level. So I think once that becomes a job for me, I'm at the age where I shouldn't be doing something I don't like to do. I'm old enough to be at that position, and but I still love all of that, and I love the guys I'm working with, and I tell them the same thing. If you get tired of getting coached on the fundamentals and you don't like walking into the meeting room, you're in the wrong business. Your clock is starting to tick on the way out. So
Awesome.
Still love what I'm doing, and still fortunate to be here.
Thank you, Coach.